Hello everyone, welcome to an episode from TCG 353. I'm Jamie. Today we're playing Krieg, and I hope you enjoyed that epic start to the video because we have some epic games for you. First things first, we're playing Nami, and quickly while the game's setting up, I want to thank everyone for their support. It's why I'm running this Krieg video, because I know you guys in the comments loved Krieg. Was talking to some of you guys about running it at regionals and playing the game with budget-friendly decks and such. So we're pulling together this Krieg build, which I think is very cool and very fun. We have 3 lists, and we're only running against top meta decks. So without forgetting too much about commentary here, because I know we're here to play games to talk about them, let's talk about this match. The inability to attach with Erlang ability when there's attached on for the opponent is real. So we couldn't attach on to our leader, which was fine. There was no character on board. Our opponent plays out a Zeus, and we're able to freeze to their Dawn for their next turn, which is very strong, and they play out the young girl. We take a 7k and we trigger out this "You Cannot Surpass Me" Run or Zoro, which has a trigger, which is rest an opponent's character with 7k, but you must rest one of your characters, and we didn't have a character to rest, which is unfortunate because getting rid of this young girl would have been very useful. We swing 6 and get the leader ability online. A Jin into Alvida is a very, very strong play, and it's sort of why we like going second, especially against, well, when a deck wants to curve into first, we take first because we have options for it, especially with the other decks that we're looking at. But for this deck here in particular, going second is very advantageous because we're running a lot of Jins, and being able to flood the board is very useful to us. And we have 8 searchers, so there is always a possibility of being able to use 2 searchers on our first turn if we do get a very lucky hand at the start. We use our Krieg to freeze their Borsa and rest it, give it minus 4k with the Krieg ability, which is huge. We could have used it against the young girl to just freeze it and stop that value engine for our opponent, but that's always an option for us later on in the game, so we don't have to rush to it at the moment. Our opponent chooses to swing 8 into us, which is fine, we take that. And now we have this Shanks and Zoro, and try and surpass me, Run or Zoro. The Rest 4k event is what I'll call it from now on. The Rest 4k event, which is an elite combo in this deck, and you're going to see it used very, very well and very effectively in these games. I think it's an excellent attack in this deck. Also, the underrated card of this whole deck is that searcher that we just trashed to add a rested Dawn. Not always will you have 2 characters on board that are able to attach to rested Dawn, and you can see from the way I play, I always prefer to attach a Dawn to leader to get the leader ability off for free. We keep 2 Dawn up. Consider swinging with Alvida. We absolutely will, because this 4k counter on rest the character event needs to rest the card, and we want to rest the Shanks very, very much. So we are going to do that, and you're going to see it here in action. What it does is gives us 4k, so we easily block out of that. We rest our Shanks, and our opponent's character, although it has attached 2 Dawn, is minus 3k on their own turn, which is very, very strong. Unfortunately, we consider what we want to do here. We don't really want to go down to last life because we're thinking about the next turn and how we're going to be able to get game from this. What's really strong about Krieg here is that we're able to freeze or rest any character in the game, essentially, as long as they have 2 Dawn onto them. And so we rest their Whitebeard, and we are able to freeze the Robin as well. So we're just debating now on how we want to swing. We of course won't swing into the Robin, but swinging into the Whitebeard is a potential option which we don't go and use, thankfully enough. As you see how this game shakes out later on, we start apportioning our Dawn, and our opponent has a huge hand size, and there is a temptation to swing all in with Shanks, but we stop that for a second. And you can see here what the board state looks like. We have one of our freeze events up, we have 2 AK counters in hand and a 2k, but the AK counters need to rest cards, right? So we have to apportion that correctly, and we have to leave cards standing up so that they can't swing into us. So we're thinking here, okay, how are we going to do this? We have one of Dawn attached to leader. We're absolutely going to freeze this Robin. Yeah, so we froze that Robin, a little bit of a post-editing cut there. We froze that Robin, and now the opponent's board is minus 3k. They have the possibility to portion down the way they like, but they don't, which is good for us. We counter out of that with our 4k ability, our 4k counter, and we rest one of our cards. See the way we left those cards up so we can rest them. Our opponent attaches, what is that, 7 Don onto a character that is minus 1. And that's 7k, it was easy counter for us. Our opponent concedes, which is huge for us. Blue Yellow Nami is so dangerous in this meta, so Krieg getting the victory is big. I think what we did right here, just for a quick post analysis, is we searched out our freeze events, which is very useful into their Robin. We got the Shanks down early to negate some of their power, and we aggressively swung and protected our board. We didn't let bodies go just so quickly, which allowed us to put pressure on the late game. Next game now, we're into Red Blue Lucy even. We choose to keep this hand because we have 2 searchers, which is very useful for us. We choose the Pearl, which is teched into this deck for this matchup and also for Enel, to be able to remove the Cavendish and to remove the Owned on block. We'll see how well that works out in this game, if that tech works. But until then, our opponent swings 7, plays out a Rebecca and searches a 2k counter and anti-removal. If they play it on board, then it pretty much shuts down their game plan, so we'll cross our fingers and hope. We swing 5 into their leader. Lucy is likely to take on the first, which they do. We play out the Pearl and pass. The one negative about Pearl is that you can't activate the leader ability early on. Our opponent swings 5 into us, which is a free block with Pearl, which is very useful, so there's no point of us giving counter here, and we don't. Our opponent passes turn to us 6 down. Of course, we're going to play Jin down, and with Jin, we are going to use the Erlang ability to get our leader ability online. There was the option to rest the Cavendish, but it did absolutely nothing, so we didn't bother with it. And now our leader ability is online, and they can swing freely enough if they want. They're on 7 on turn, so clearly they don't have a Sabo if they don't play it on curve, because I've never met a Lucy player to not play it on their 7 Don. Our opponent chooses to swing 5. They bottom deck our Pearl, which is good for them, not good for us. Their Cavendish swinging 5 isn't so dangerous, and they swing 5 with leader, which we are going to take. Now we can use our Kuro effect to freeze their Cavendish. We'll also use our Erlang effect to make our leader 6k for free, and we'll swing 5 at their Lucy. We'll see how this shakes out now. We'll swing 7 with lead, which is the right thing to do, and 7 with Jin again, because this Kuro is going to freeze their Cavendish next turn, which is massive. I really recommend using your freeze events on Cavendish as much as you can. It stops their engine, and it also stops them from getting free swings. It's just them needing to attach 1 Don at the Cavendish is all they need to do to get counter out of our hand. And with Krieg, our hand size goes low so quickly that not allowing them to have that counter at all is very useful. They choose to use the double attack into our Erlang, which we are going to protect actually. It could have been useful to freeze 2 of their bodies in hindsight, but what we're thinking here is having another body on board and being able to freeze, or being able to rest their Sabo, will allow us to be more aggressive. We're considering using this tree cost, and we do. That's teched into the deck for the Enel matchup, but as you can see here, it also comes in play against Rebecca. We use our abilities now, so this is how it's going to shake out. We're going to attach Don with Erlang to rest this Rebecca, just to get that blocker off the board, which is a really useful for us. We can trap and give an opponent card Don, but we can't rest anymore. But what we can do is freeze. There's a slight misplay there. We should have put 2 Don onto the Cavendish, and we can see here we kind of noticed that error. We should have put 2 Don onto the Cavendish so we could rest it. Slight error, because we can't rest this Sabo blocker unless it blocks. Okay, so now we're just hoping that this card is going to block and take the free block. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. We swing with our Kuro as well, and there we go. They take the block and we get the freeze off, which is very, very good for us. And we search at the end of our turn, and we'll see what we want to take. Taking the Pearl is useful because we can get rid of the Cavendish. Taking 4k counters, of course, handy as well, which is what we're going to do. We're kind of coming into the later stages of the game now, and we can see the finish line. We want to protect ourselves against some shenanigans like these double attacks that could come in. If they don't swing too aggressively, we can counter out quite easily later on, but for this moment, not so much. Not too much, because the Barry pistol comes down to bottom deck. We protect our Arlong again. There is an argument to just let it go, but we do really want the swings on board, and having the Arlong on board means we can rest our blocker and go very aggressive next turn, which is really what we want to do. So we'll see what our opponent decides to do. They go into the Arlong, and here we could potentially take, no, we counter, and they leave a Don standing up for blocker. So now we have decisions to make. We could play down the Jin just for no reason at all other than a 7k body, which could be useful, or we could start giving Don to our character here. First things first, we should arrest this blocker, which is always the first move, because just having that Sabo off the field is huge. We choose to swing 9 and prompting our opponent to hopefully block and counter. Really what we ought to be doing here is resting the Sabo and then swinging into the Cav, because that card is just really annoying. Swing 10 into lead, and we're waiting to see what our opponent does. They clearly don't have the counter for this. Maybe they don't have 2Ks in hand either. They give us the block, so the rest actually didn't come into play at all. But in hindsight, we really should have swung into their Cavendish there. It's really hard for Lucy to protect their board because they can't use leader ability, and it just ends up that they have so many bricks in hand. What we have here now is the opportunity to use the event to freeze our small body, and now when they swing into the Arlong, what's going to happen here is that we get so much more value out of it, being able to rest characters, that we can rest both their Sabo and their Cav, which is what we're going to do here. And they choose to swing into they choose to put a Don on their blocker. Fortunately now we don't have anything on board that can attach Don to rest. If that was the case, we'd be able to attach a Don to Rebecca and rest it and swing probably, well, if there was a body on board, we'd probably swing 10 and 11, or sorry, 11 and 12, or however that would work. 11 and 11, yeah. We freeze their entire board, which is huge for us, and pass the turn to our opponent. We'll see what they want to do. They play out a Violent, Rebecca, keep looking for that Sabo. Viola, and we're just crossing our fingers that they don't get this Sabo down. They play out a Dressrosa Kingdom and attach it onto their Rebecca to make it a blocker. We're really just hoping for an epic top deck, because we imagine they're going to swing into our small body here just to get rid of another swinger off the board, which is probably the right move for them to make. There it is, they swing 7, just negating the free block potential. Lay down another Dressrosa Kingdom to draw another card, and now they're just really cycling through that deck. We have a Kuro, and we're going to attach their 2 active Don and rest their Rebecca, and we really here, we should be swinging our cards into this Cavendish. We should swing 8 into Cavendish. After the usability here, we should swing the 7 into Cavendish, because they don't have the Dressrosa Kingdom event anymore. Bit of a misplay, because this Cavendish is just such a threat as a swinger on board, but we're hoping that our leader ability will do something for us. We've also negated 2 of their active Don, so we're pretty sure their hand is very heavy in events. They did have a 2k in hand, and they would have had 2k from the Dressrosa event, so it's hard to say whether they'd be able to block out of that one or not. We freeze the Rebecca for next turn, and now our opponent has decisions to make. If they have a Goldie Roger, they would probably play it, so most likely they don't. They instead play the Sabo, which is very good for them actually, because it gives their leader AK, or brings their leader to AK, and it means that if I do survive this turn, I don't have 2 bodies anymore really. They're going to swing 7 into Rokoro. This is a slow and painful one. They're going to swing 5 into us. We have to take this. We have no counter in hand. We get a trigger from life. Pull a Goldie Roger. So now we're just hoping for something good from the top of our deck. We're just crossing our fingers for a Luna, for a Luna, for a Luna. Our opponent is able to Fire Fist our Koro, which would have saved us the game absolutely. It is a shame. I won't be mad at Lucy as a deck because it is just a draw and discard deck anyway, so of course it's going to find its pieces, but to have it right there in that crucial moment after us pulling the Goldie Roger from the top of our deck broke our hearts. In hindsight, we should have swung into that Cavendish more aggressively. Them not having an additional swinger on board at the end would have meant that they couldn't have actually finished off the game. That's something for every Lucy matchup, and for Krieg especially, because we can freeze big bodies, so removing smaller bodies is beneficial. Into the next game now, we're against Red Black Koby, which is a meta contender, maybe not top tier, but its removal options are very, very good into certain decks. And it has a lot of staying power, so it stops this removal potential from decks like Lucy. We use our search event to get a Jin, and now our curve is looking pretty nice. We draw a card with a trigger event from the search event to get an Alvida, so now we're looking very strong. We have our Krieg to activate leader ability, which we're going to use straight away. We could have just rested a blocker in hindsight, but swinging 6 is what we wanted to do instead. Our next turn is going to be Jin into Alvida, which is very strong again. We'll have 3 bodies on board. 2 of them will be able to attach Rested Dawn, so we can swing 7Ks from now on with our leader. And we'll be able to rest something every turn while maintaining the 7K swings. So that's what we're going to do here. We are going to attach Rested Dawn to ourselves, attach another Rested Dawn to their chum blocker, and rest it. Swing 7 into their leader, see what they want to do about that. More than likely they'll block that, and we're going to swing into their blocker here and remove that. Pretty good turn for us, just negating some of their defensive potential later on in ways that only Krieg can do, right? Only Krieg's able to rest characters so consistently, especially early game when your opponent plays out smaller bodies, and being able to aggressively control board is a way we can win, especially when we can dominate board control and we have our bigger pieces later on to freeze their freeze their larger bodies, like the Koro that you can see in our hand. Our opponent swings 2 5s into our Erlang. We block out of the first, but we take the second. You can see with Erlang, we try and protect it as much as we can until we get really good value off the freeze. And we just got really good value there off the freeze by being able to freeze 2 of their main bodies and main swingers. We're considering what to choose here. Will we take a 2K or will we take an Erlang? We choose to take the Erlang because it is just a really strong card in hand, and we play it over the Alvida. The reason for this is the freeze event off life is useful to us, and that is it really. I know that Koby doesn't run so many 4K counter like one cost events, but if Active Dawn does come into play, then our Erlang is more of a flexible pick for that. Opponent gets a trigger of a Meteor Fist, and so just reduces our Krieg down a lot in power. So our Krieg chooses to swing into that Armaki small body, and we swing 7 into leader's life. Both of their bodies are frozen now because the Erlang effect. They have leader up to swing, but their game plan is kind of stopped here because they don't have bodies on board to remove our bodies, and that stops a lot of what they want to do as their deck. Also, freezing their bodies means that they have less opportunity to get the draws off of this Koby, which is very useful for us because it means their hand size will slowly go down and down. And Krieg is a deck that struggles with hand size as well, so if we're able to compete for hand size against an opponent, that's what we're going to do. When our board state is looking like it is now, it's also very useful for us to keep that pressure up. You can see in our hand that we have this 4K Krieg counter and also the freeze to A cost, which you more than likely will see next turn. I don't want to spoil anything, but you know, wink wink. We're going to use this on the big Koby because we have Don to be able to be attached. Our opponent uses the 1-cost searcher to take out a Doll, which is the 4-cost counter. They do get a draw off the Koby effect, which is fair enough. We couldn't negate that. We didn't have anti-removal on board then. And we consider what to do here. Thinking about it, like we can freeze with Zoro easily and put the 7k blocker on board. We can also freeze with the Krieg event on the same turn, which is ridiculously strong. That's what I would do, but also using the blocker would be useful as well, because we'd still get one freeze off and we could just slowly clear their board. The better play, of course, is to attach Don in the way we're doing here, attaching 3 to the Koby to make sure it doesn't move next turn, and there's already 2 attached to the Koby that draws a card when swinging. So we're going to attach the 2 Don to our leader, swing 7, and we have a 6 and a 7 to swing as well with the freeze ability. Well, we'll consider actually leaving Don up to be able to use the 4k counter as well, in case there is something that we don't see coming. But we don't choose that at the moment. Our opponent would only be able to swing twice unless they have maybe the Rush Navy card. But even then, that would be minus 2k, so we'd be able to counter out pretty effectively. So we're in a very good spot here. Our opponent plays out a Doll to minus the cost of one of our players. We'll see who they choose. They're not able to attack active characters, so the Zoro is safe. They choose to go into the Alvida, which is the wrong card to go into, because Alvida's effect is when it is KO'd, you can trash a character with 6,000 power from your hand, which is very, very useful actually, and it does come up a lot. So Alvida, getting down Alvida aggressively, especially early on, is handy because it does stick around. A lot of the cards in your hand are 6,000 power. Our opponents consider who to swing with and how to apportion their swings. They go 6 into 0, and we're able to trash and protect. They go 5 into 0, we're able to trash and protect, and now it is looking difficult for our opponent. We have Matt and they quit. That is a good game to our opponent. We were just able to control the board so effectively they weren't able to get their game plan off. When Krieg is running well, that's exactly how the game goes. You're able to shut down your opponent effectively by freezing their board and their main threats, while slowly either taking out their board pieces with big Krieg or else whittling down their life and their hand size. With our bodies, you see Erlang's freeze on KO came up in that game well. Just keep on controlling board in this matchup. Have a look at our second deck list that we're going to be using for the next set of games. We are going Zoro heavy to use Character Rush to make our leader 7k and control the board more effectively. See how it goes. We're going to run into another Lucy with this deck and see how it shakes out this time. We choose to go first and we mulligan. Our opponent chooses to go second, we mulligan our hand, and you can see here that we are now running into our second list, which contains the 7-cost Zoro. We'll see how that runs for us. The logic with running the Zoro here is that if we're 7k, it's essentially a minus 2k to the entire board anyway, and once we're in late game, the minus 2k doesn't come up all that often anyway. The Zoro is used for board control and to make it difficult for our opponent to swing into us, which it does effectively. We're able to use an Erlang, but not the ability, because all they're done is attached, and swing 5 at our opponent. Pass the turn. The Lucy matchup, from what we learned last time, is a question of controlling board to the degree that we can. Our removal is limited a little bit until we have Kriegs, so what we want to do is freeze everything, especially the Sabo blockers, and focus down on their Cavendish. When we have a big board established and we're able to freeze some of their characters. Focusing on their bodies means we'll whittle down their counter in hand, because they can't use leader ability, and Lucy as a deck mostly runs, is more events than it is cards, and a lot of the cards that they run, I think 8 of the cards that they run are counterless, or 9 cards, or 10 if they run 2 Goldie Rogers as opposed to 1. So they are a brick heavy deck when the leader ability is taken out of the situation. Anyway, without talking too much about it, we will attach 2 Don onto their Leo, 3 Don rather, and swing 6 into their leader, see what they do about that. We don't rest their Leo, which we could have done quite easily, rested it and swung into it with Django. May have been a bit of a mistake, but I don't think it's altogether too bad. The opponent Fire Fists our long, and we choose to let it go and we freeze to it or Dawn, which is actually very useful for this matchup. As we saw last time, the combination of Fire Fist and Big Fire Fist and Small Fire Fist is very relevant. We attach the Rested Dawn from core ability onto the Sabo, and we attach another bit of Rested Dawn with Alvida. Rest it, and now that will not become active in the next turn, which is very useful for us. We'll be swinging 6, we'll be swinging 6, probably a 7 and a 6. We finally get to that Leo and swing 7 at their leader. See what they choose to do here. If they counter or not, they don't have a Dressrosa Kingdom up, so it will be a bit more difficult for them. And if they give us a 2 and a 1k, their hand's healthy. If they give us 3 events, we are looking good. 2 and a 1k, okay. And now we freeze their Sabo. They only have 7 down up, so they can play a Sabo, but they'll only be swinging, well, they'll be swinging 8, of course, but they won't be able to Fire Fist on top of anything as well. So our Django will probably stay up, which is very good value for us. They choose to use Memento to probably draw on Trash, hoping to find a Cavendish or a Sabo, or most likely a Sabo for next turn. But it's looking not likely that they'll be able to get a next turn with the way our board is. And look, they played out a Viola to search at the end there with the Memento, so their hand just is not great at all, which is very rare for Lucy as a deck. They pull into the Dressrosa Kingdom, attach 1 Dawn to their Rebecca, and leave 1 Dawn up for what I'd imagine is event. And we see how this shakes out now. We'll use the Alvida ability straight off the bat. Bit of a misplay, we should have played our Zoro first and then attached onto the leader to swing bigger, but not that big a deal. We can swing 8 into their lead. I was swinging 8 because this event that they have in hand potentially is minus 3k to characters, so if they do choose to use the event, then the minus 3k isn't totally relevant. Our opponent takes there, so we start swinging again and again. We use the Zoro, consider using the Zoro rather, this turn. I think it would be wise to use it because the character rush will mean that we'll be able to put more aggression onto them. We start swinging smaller swings here, so we're not going for game anymore. We just want to get counter out of their hand, and that's what they're giving us. The reason we want to get counter out of their hand is to swing into this Sabo, which we do. We swing 9 into it and see what our opponent does. They do have that event in hand, which they are likely to use. We'll see what they consider here now. They give us the Sabo, okay, so it looks like good game pretty much to us in this game. We leave 2 Dawn standing, and I don't believe it's for the Koro, it's for the 4k event. And our opponent concedes. They just didn't have the counter for what we had there. They also didn't have the Sabo on board, making it more difficult for them. There wasn't any option for them to get out of what we had coming to them next turn. They could have whittled down the board a little bit, but it wouldn't have mattered all that much to us because we can rest blockers so freely. So be aggressive in this matchup. Of course, our opponent didn't pull into the perfect cards, but that can happen to any deck. You've seen that the Zoro was very useful to be able to character rush and board control, and 7k swing from our leader aggressively helped a lot. Our next matchup now is against Yellow Sky Island Luffy, which is a huge meta contender actually. It's kind of slept on, to be honest. And Krieg has a really good matchup against it. Our opponent chooses to go first, so we're second, which is good for us anyway. We don't have a Jin, so we're hoping to pull into one, which we do. You see it come through there, very useful. We are tempted to play the Jin, but we choose not to. I think the best bet is to just swing 9. We considered using the Koby for the removal protection, and while Sky Island Luffy does have a little bit of board removal, it's not enough to be afraid of. The Viper can't really remove anything that's important for us because all our bodies are above 2k. Play the Jin, and from our draw from the top of the deck we pulled into the blocker, 5-cost blocker, him again, chainsaw handban. So we swing 6 with lead by attaching with that effect, and past the turn our opponent plays out a Sky Island Robin to draw life from hand and place the life to the top and the Calgara, but the effect doesn't happen simultaneously, which is good to know for us. We choose to freeze the Robin and excessively give it put down onto it. The 3 down on it now will mean that the Goro can freeze it. Our opponent takes a lot of cards to hand. I don't think it's signaling that he's bricky. I just think it's that our opponent has a lot of heal options in hand and they want to use them. Sky Island Luffy does that excellently. They can use the 1-cost event to get a life in hand very quick, and as you see a Zoro here as well. Our opponent uses a Zoro into a Borsellino to get 2 life back on their 9 down turn, so now it's a very impressive turn for our opponent, but they decide to back out. So we do take this win, but really why I kept this game in is to showcase the Krieg leader ability. Our opponent played 5 characters on their 9 down turn, so wasn't able to apportion down to their characters, meaning that they could only swing once with us and we were able to get a free block off with that. If they had a portion down on, then we could have countered out and also used Krieg next turn to wipe out a lot of their board. Of course they had the Sky Island Luffy ability, but still we would have been able to get them down to 0 life just by targeting their board. They also didn't have very much counter in hand, so we could have been aggressive next turn, and we had the freeze events in hand also. So we would have been in a very good spot actually, because we could have played out a blocker and frozen one of their cards, had another blocker up, and been aggressive with our swings, waiting for the next turn to get the crack back on our opponent. So I just wanted to showcase how Krieg can dominate the board against Sky Island Luffy, and they have to make difficult decisions that they wouldn't normally have to make in other matchups. Our next game now is against Green Purple Luffy. This is a Luffy Haven. We only play Luffy decks now against Krieg. This matchup is fun for us because we're able to rest some of their characters. Although Sky Island Luffy doesn't play blockers, so it's not resting aggressively, what it does play a lot of is very, very scary bodies, like the 6-cost Rush Luffy and the 6-cost Double Attack Luffy. Both of those are very, very big threats, and we're able to freeze them. Now, freezing the Sanji and Pudding isn't all that relevant. Our opponents make 7 into 5 we take. Isn't all that relevant because they can still get the ability off. But we're not considering freezing those. We're considering freezing the other characters that are more scary in this deck aggressively, such as the Rush Luffy and the Double Attack Luffy. We don't have freeze in our hand at the moment, but we are hoping and waiting for it. We get the Rush Zoro, and we have the Jin fodder, which we're going to use to take out the Erlong rather than using the blocker. The reason for that is to attach an active Don, and you see here, because the opponent only has 1 rested Don available to them, we can't actually use the Alvida ability, which is a shame. But what can you do? We swing 6 into their leader and choose to swing 6 into their leader again. No point in resting the Sanji and Pudding because it's not really going to do much. We're not going to swing into it by no means. Opponent plays out another Sanji and Pudding and gets their Don active, so now their game plan is totally 100% online, and they play out his 3rd Sanji and Pudding, which is a lot to take, to be honest. They swing into us, we take the draw from the trigger and we draw into an Erlong, which is good for us, and we're now considering what to do. We have Jin into the blocker, and now we can pretty much freeze everything, but freezing isn't that much for this deck. But as I said earlier, what is useful with these leader abilities that we have is that we're able to attach on, so we can actually swing very big for free with Krieg, which is like sort of something that people don't really consider with this leader. And now we choose to swing into the Sanji and Pudding here because we want counter out of their hand. We swing 7 into Sanji and Pudding, they give us a counter. We swing 6 into their leader, we'll see what they do. This deck is actually quite bricky, and they don't have Don up for an event. We're going to test the waters. We're going to swing 8 into their leader, see if they have a 2 and a 1k for us. Possible that they don't, and they're considering how to counter. I'd imagine their hand is bricks and events, and because they don't have a Don up, that means it's just bricks. Your opponent thinks about taking this, and we're thinking about what to do next. If we leave 2 Don up, we can easily use the event without resting a body, but rather than that, we're just going to swing 6 into their leader and check for a counter to give us a 2k, so it's looking very good for us at the moment. I know Green Purple Luffy doesn't play blockers, not traditionally anyway, and if they did, we could freeze it. Our opponent uses this secret rare Luffy rush, and we'll see what they do here now. We have our counter up, and we have counter in hand, so we are looking quite good currently. We did swing 6 last turn, so we'll see what way that Don worked out for us. Our opponent has a lot of 5s to chip away at life, which is fine for us, and their double attack could probably be 7, but we see here our opponent is able to rest our blocker and our Don for the event, which is tough. We can counter 1, we can counter 1, we can keep countering these easily enough, but it is going to come down to a 7k double attack swing at the end that we will not have counter for, unfortunately, unless we can pull. There's nothing really. We don't run a 3k counter and our opponent gets the win. This is unfortunate, and I'm including this game because 1, it's a very good game and it comes down right to the wire, and 2, there is potential for a misplay or at least greedy play from us swinging that 6k at the end. There was no need for it because we had such a strong board and we had counter up that we were able to defend out of whatever the opponent was able to swing into us next turn if we had just kept the character up, or the Don up, so we could use the event. So lots to learn from this. I hope you enjoyed that game. Our next one now is against a Black Crocodile, which I think is a very good matchup for us. Of course, our opponent is able to freeze characters that we have, and we have a lot of characters on board, but because we have so many characters on board, it's hard for them to freeze everything, so we are eventually able to get through with some of our swings. Why I think it's a good deck is that the Bon Clay doesn't get so much value, and it's difficult for their Daz Bones to effectively be used unless they saved on for that swing. We'll see how it shakes out this time. Our opponent on their second on turn just chooses to swing 2, play out the -3k just to use as leader ability fodder. We don't have a Don to attach to a character, so we can activate leader ability, but it's not too much of a problem. We swing 5 and the opponent takes. Last turn, our opponent swings 5 into us. We are considering what to do, whether we'll give counter. We do. Opponent searches top 3 for a Missile Sunday, so we can guess what's going to happen on their 7 on turn. Our opponent uses their Bon Clay and the Daz Bones into the leader ability, and see this here, because we know that our opponent has a Missile Sunday in hand, we only have to freeze 1 Don to negate the tempo from their next turn. We play out a Jin into an Alvida, and we have their Daz Bones frozen, and we have one of their Don frozen as well, so they can't actually use this Missile Sunday on curve, which slows them down massively. Very good from us, for us, and maybe a slight misplay on our opponent's turn, but I mean, they also just wanted to use the Daz Bones effectively, which isn't all that bad. Having an Arlong on board for us would have meant we could have been very aggressive on our swings next turn also. Our opponent chooses to trash the Daz Bones to get the leader ability off and -5 to the Alvida, and swing 7 into us. We take that and we pull into a Luna from the draw. Krieg is an excellent Luna user because he can pretty much rest any character as long as he has bodies on board that can attach Don. We choose to attach a bunch of Don to this Bon Clay, but we're not going to swing into it because we'd just be giving them a free body on board, and the body wouldn't come out rested either, so it wouldn't help us at all. It would just help our opponent, so we choose not to, and we just start swinging into board. We swing 6, we swing 6, we swing 7. If our opponent gives us 2 it gives us 3 1Ks, okay, so it's a very good spot for us. And now we'd imagine that the Crocodile shenanigans will start, especially that they can freeze our Krieg. But also you have to consider this. They can't, so the Crocodile coming on board, they'll want to trash it to freeze 2 bodies. So that means they can't trash this Bonclay this turn, so they can't bring out a bigger body. This Bonclay is also only 3k, so it can't swing, so we've just stopped this Bonclay being used completely. They choose to freeze the Krieg, bring back out the Crocodile, and they're choosing who they want to get rid of this turn. And instead of getting double freeze off, they choose to crack the Bonclay and take out a blocker. Probably not what I'd recommend to do, to be fair. Against Krieg anyway, as you can see, our leader ability comes in massive here. And it is a very, very consistent leader ability. I think it's the most slept on part about Krieg, is that you can rest pretty much anything in the game. In the game. So it allows you to be very aggressive in these situations here. The -2k is excellent early game, but really when it comes to late game, being able to rest opponents' bodies is really where Krieg shines. We swing 7, we swing again 7 to give us a bunch of counter, and now we're pretty sure they don't have counter in hand, so swinging 8 is fine. We can't swing into the Crocodile. Well, of course it's standing, but we don't want to swing into the Babe either, because it would allow them to pull a Crocodile out of life, and we don't want to do that and welcome on their leader ability, freezing more of our board. We give them 2k, our opponent starts searching, so we know that they don't have big bodies in their hand. They do still have this Missile Sunday because they wouldn't have been able to trash it, so that is an option for them, and probably a good option in all fairness. We have enough counter to be able to get out of this, so we're absolutely going to do that. We also kept 2 done up, so we're able to use the 4k counter and not rest the body. We can just rest the Don instead, which is a cool little tech for that. We have a Luna, which isn't going to do anything for us. We can't freeze the Luffy, and we can't freeze the Crocodile, but what we can do is we can rest this Babe and just start swinging little 9ks, and they don't have counter at all. They couldn't counter out of all the things we had coming to them with the way we were able to distribute our Don, so good game to an opponent. You've seen how Krieg ability, the -2k, came into play early on in the game, and being able to rest a blocker was so useful for us, for the reasons that they couldn't cycle Crocodiles because they weren't able to pull them back from trash. That's sort of slept on when it comes to Krieg, is that aggressiveness of the leader ability. And also what you have to consider is -2k to that Bonclay at the start was able to stop a lot of their aggression early on. Another great freezing Krieg won this matchup, and I think it is a good matchup for us. Speaking of good matchups, we're going to do another Sky Island Luffy game, because I don't think the first game was telling enough of the power of this deck against it. Our opponent chooses to go second, and we are first. We have a search in hand, so we choose to keep it, and we draw into a Morgan. You can see from my deck list as well, I'm running 3 Morgans and 3 Alvidas. I put equal weight on both of them. I think they're both very good. As these games go on, you can see that Alvida actually comes in a lot. Very clutch to be able to stay on board, and we really do want our bodies to stick around. Our opponent triggers out a Sanji Searcher from life, and they choose to trash the Raigo, which I believe they did because we put down the anti-removal, which is, you know, pretty strong. We play Morgan on curve and make our leader 6k and get the leader ability active on curve, which is very useful again. Our opponent swings 5, we get the free block off, and now we're saying if you do want to swing into us, then you will want to give your characters a bunch of Don and probably not play things out on curve. Our opponent says no, plays out this secret rare Luffy and starts their own game of being scary against blockers, but we're just not going to have any of that. Swing 6 into their lead. And with this core ability, we are able to freeze that Sky Island Luffy, which is massive for this game because that is just a really scary card. You can also see in hand that we have that Krieg ability, the freeze and ACOST are lower. So once we are able to get another body on board that can attach Don, or we can just use the Morgan to attach 2 Don to it, we'll be able to freeze it again next turn, which is very handy. Our opponent uses the ability of their Luffy. Probably not necessary because now I know what the top their life is. And it's sort of makes me not want to swing into it, because they're just going to trigger out a body. Now we consider who we want to attach it onto. We can attach it onto the blocker and swing aggressively into life, which we actually end up doing. We can also just take this blocker out pretty much for free. We're not really going to swing into the Sky Island Luffy. I don't think there's point in doing that at the moment, because they'll just use leader ability. So being aggressive on the opponent's life is more beneficial to us at the moment, because we're playing for the win. We're not playing for board control altogether totally. Swing 6 into that blocker just to get it away. They trigger the shore, as we know they will. And we choose to swing 7 with the Kuro as well. Well, we're considering what did they draw into, and we're trying to see how much counter they have in hand, and so we choose not to. We have 1 down up, which is a 4k counter, so we are protected from our opponent going into life. While we stopped swinging there, as you notice what our opponent just played down, why we didn't swing 10 or swing with our Kuro there is if we brought them down to 1 life, their Enel would have been able to swing and gain a life back, so it would have meant nothing to us. We would have lost value. This swing 9 into 6 into the Morgan, which we have to let go. This event only protects Kriegs, which is something to know if you are going for game. And now we're just going to start splitting down. We're going to put 7 onto our Erlang at the start and see what happens with it. Our opponent gives us 2 and a 1. And we're just thinking on how it could work out here if we just start swinging. We swing 8. We swing 9, our opponent takes, and we just go for game here and see what happens. And our opponent does not have counter. Now there is an argument to be made that I was a bit aggressive in this turn, and that not having any down up for the next turn means I was going to get absolutely blitzed. But also I was thinking that maybe that was going to happen anyway. When they took the first life, or when they started taking more and more lives, then I was thinking, okay, we might actually have the win. Sky Island Luffy doesn't run that much counter in hand, and if they don't have it done up, it means you can go aggressive. You can't go aggressive in the board, of course, so going for life is the way to win these matchups, in my opinion. And as you saw here, it worked out. We were able to use the Krieg ability very well in the early game, that they weren't able to exchange bodies or get early aggression in. And these swarm decks are very good for Krieg, because minus 2k to smaller bodies is really relevant. Now let's look at this new list that we want to talk about. This is our 3rd and final list. If you're enjoying the games, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm really enjoying this, so let's run into this game without talking too much about this deck. I will mention it throughout the game. You'll see what tech comes up, as you can see it in our hand there now. We're running against Imu, and sorry about the lateness of when I pull this up. I just forgot to click record at the start, but not much happens. They play Saturn and Search, and we searched as well, so our hand is looking pretty nice. Our first time we searched for the Buggy. As you can see in our hand, we're running 2 of that Buggy in the Decklist, which allows your leader to go into a double attack, which I won't spoil anything, but maybe it comes up this game, who knows. It's also East Blue, so it doesn't stop your leader ability from happening, and this Decklist that we're running now is totally East Blue, so there's no Zoro. We cut that out because while it is really good for board control, it doesn't come up all that much, so maybe running it as a one-of is more beneficial. But to be honest, the first deck using... Okay, so we have 2 protections up. We have the Koby, and we have Alvida, who is able to be protected anyway. We consider using the trigger effect here because we can probably take out the Mars next turn, but we'd rather keep the 4k counter in hand, because you see here we're hovering over it. We have the Shanks into the 4k rest event deck that we love to use. Like, that is so cool, I think, for this deck. And minus 3k to Imu's board is actually hugely beneficial, so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to play the Shanks out in curve, and granted we can't use the event with it this turn, we can just be aggressive into Imu's life, because we can rest this Marcus Mars. So we swing 6 and we swing 6. Our opponent gives us 2k counter and considers what to do here, and they give us an event. Okay, so our opponent doesn't want to go down too low in life, but them giving us an event signals to us that we might be able to do some Buggy shenanigans here soon. This card is really good in this deck. I know you can tell by my voice that I'm smiling. This This deck list is my favorite, definitely, because it can really catch opponents off guard. I think I don't know if it's the best. We'll talk about it at the end. Let's keep talking about the games now. We have a pretty strong board state. Our opponent searches and plays out a pig and a spider, a Valkyrie and a Saturn, searches out a Jupiter, which is a 2k counter for them, and leaves one done up after swinging 5 into us. And our opponent just thinks on what to do here and passes to us. We swing 9 straight away and rest the Valkyrie, which is another great reason for Shanks in this deck. Okay, it is a little bit slow, but you can rest 2 blockers every single turn with Shanks and with the Krieg ability. So we have the option to either play Jin into Buggy to get a wider board, or just playing Buggy and swinging very, very big with leader to get the double attack off, or just get a bunch of cards out of their hand. And that's what we're thinking about now. We choose to start here and see what we can get. We get a Krieg, and we're thinking on how that will work out for us. So we don't really want to swing into the Valkyrie because it'll draw them a card. But we can use Krieg ability and swing 2k to 2k to Saturn and just get it off the board. Swing 6 into 5, which to give us a 2k4, and swing 9 into 5, which your opponent counters out of very aggressively. They are coming into their Elder's turn, so of course they're going to swing aggressive, and we choose to counter out of this. Having the anti-removal is very useful for us. Of course, they can only really get rid of the Alvida, who has anti-removal built in anyway, so maybe it was a bit excessive. But I still want that body on board, and I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it, don't you worry about that. Most likely anyway, our opponent will be able to swing aggressive enough. We use the Alvida ability rather than using the Koby ability, because if we use the Koby ability, we will be in a little bit of trouble. We're thinking on what card to trash here. Will we trash the 2k or will we trash the Buggy? Now, it's better to trash the 2k here, because the Buggy coming up with a double attack while we're able to freeze our opponent's characters or rest our opponent's characters is massive for us. The Shanks can rest 1, and we're going to rest the Valkyrie straight away, of course, because there's no point in not. You see, we get the Luna trigger and we're able to rest the Valkyrie. Our first Shank swing is going to go and... Oh, well, actually, we don't need to swing with Shanks to rest, because we can rest with the leader ability and play down our Buggy for the double attack and just put a bunch of Don onto our leader. They don't have counter or Don up for counter. So we are just going to swing 11, which is absolutely going to hit, and our opponent concedes. I don't blame them, because we did have a 9k and a 9k swing and a 7k swing coming to them, which they would not have been able to counter out of. Good games to them. You can see that getting the Shanks out early was very, very beneficial for us, and having a Krieg on board as well was huge. And of course, that Buggy came in very clutch at the end. I don't know, we would have had to do more particular math numbers to get the win there, but Buggy just made it simple. Double attack swing, super aggressive, and let the rest happen with the rest of our board. Really cool game. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Now let's run into the next one against Red Green Luffy, which is a very relevant meta deck at the moment, because it can use the Zoro so effectively, and that 4-cost Usopp sticks around in this meta more than it has ever done, because there is more anti-removal cards, and so removal is less prevalent. We search with our search event and we're seeing what to pick up. We're debating between a Shanks and a chainsaw hand. I forget that guy's name. So we swing 6 into their leader. Of course, they're going to use leader ability, that's fine. And now we have a pretty nice curve that next turn we can play a 5-cost, and on our 7 Don turn we can play a 6-cost Jin into another 5-cost and keep 1 Don up for a either freeze if we want to use it, or just for the 4k counter event. We use Alvida, play it out, and swing 6. Our opponent used leader ability again, which is what Red Green Luffy is going to do. Of course, our opponent uses the 6-cost Luffy to restand 4 Don, swing 6 into us. We take that, and they leave 3 Don standing. So the chance of us getting the this Luffy off board by swinging is slim to none, but what we are going to do here is just freeze it, which is very, very beneficial for us, or swing 6 and 7 to our opponent, and they are able to use leader ability to counter both of them. And you can see, because they're only using their leader ability to counter, they actually have not lost hand size at all. They still have, 7 cards in hand. They play out Usopp, which is debatably the strongest card in their deck. Definitely the most consistent and the most annoying to deal with, so we are going to want to prioritize getting rid of that. We also have to consider how we're going to do that, because we need 2 Don on this Luffy to be able to freeze it. We definitely want to freeze it, because taking a double attack here would be very scary for us. We do have the blocker up, so maybe leaving it wouldn't be all that big a problem. So we'll consider what to do here. What's great about the Erlang into this matchup is that you can attach an active Don, and you can see there's only 1 rested Don remaining for our opponent. So we can't actually swing we can't attach with all of our characters just yet. But if we're able to get this Usopp off the board, the rested Don will go back. And now we can actually, because they rested one of their active Don, we can attach with leader, and you may see that come into play just now, or just soon. Our opponent is considering what to do here. Our next turn we can actually swing 8 or 9 into it, and now we attach to the Don and freeze this Luffy again. I know we have the blocker up, but might as well just keep it up for the leader ability consistently, and also for that reason there, to be able to finally get a life off our opponent. So our hand size is very low, but our board is extremely strong. Our opponent plays another secret rare Luffy down. So on their 10 Don turn, they play a 6 cost that essentially costs 2. They swing 8 into us, which we are going to have to take. And now we're in a bit of a bind here, because we don't have any more freeze in hand. If we pull into a Luna, that would be brilliant, but it's not looking so likely at the moment. So we're just counting how we're going to attach rested Don. So playing out characters now is looking less likely, because we don't have board space. And we don't really want to play over anything at the moment, because all our characters are strong on board. But we attach an active Don, so we essentially take 2k counter away from our opponent there. And we swing 10 again, 2, 4, 6. I'd prefer to be swinging 9s. Like swinging a 9 and 11 there would have been more beneficial, I feel. And their opponent Charleston's, I think there's no way that they just magically got more Don. Oh, sorry, they took that swing. So because they took that swing, we'll swing 7, see what happens. We do have a blocker up, and their double attack isn't so relevant anymore. We also have the 4k counter, and we have 2, 4, 6 counter in hand, so we're pretty safe for the next turn, unless they have the rest event. I forget exactly what that's called. We also have to consider that our Krieg ability is in effect, so they're only going to be swinging 5s, but look at that, they do have it. They're able to rest our blocker and rest one of our Don, but only 1, which is useful for us because we still have that leader ability online, or we still have that counter that's able to be used. We choose to take this one because we're baiting them into swinging into us, because we know we have counter in hand enough to protect, so we really just want them to swing all in. We give them a 2k here, so this is the mind games. We give them a 2k because we want to show them, oh look, we actually don't have enough counter, you can definitely get this win if you try. Wink wink, you know. So we really want them to swing in all in here, so that we can definitely get them on the crackback. Opponent doesn't, but they use another Devil's Gambit to rest their Don, thinking that we're bricked up. We're not. So our opponent changed the route that they could get lethal, rather than using 5 of their Don to attach the leader and swing, which we could have blocked out of. Our opponent instead chooses to rest one of our Don, which is one way of doing it. Obviously us giving them a 2k signal to them that maybe this guy's low on 2ks because they're 2k'ing out of a 5k swing. So the mind games did actually play off for us there. As you can see in the opponent's hand, they had 2 Charlestons, so they would have been able to counter out forever and ever, and them on the crackback then probably would have won the game. So yeah, the mind game did actually work. When you're playing a lower tier deck, you kind of have to be a bit sneaky with it, and got us to win. Into our next game now, which is one we absolutely grinded for. This is against Purple Enel. and I remember this game, so I'll talk a little bit about it at the end. But it's no secret that this is not a winning matchup for us. It's really, really hard. I've been thinking about some tech options that you can use to beat it, but I think if you were to go full into that, then you wouldn't be able to, your deck wouldn't be fully effective into the rest of the meta. Our opponent splits in the way that only Enel can do, hoping to get 3 5k swings off on their second turn, which is absolutely absurd. But they can't because of our Krieg ability, which is good for us. We're thinking here, okay, how can we survive this swing next turn? We can't, is the simple enough answer. So we go and put down our double attack Buggy because 1, it's a brick in hand, so we might as well use it, and 2, we want counter to their hand, and if we don't get counter to their hand, then we get our own double attack, which would be great for us. Opponent now has the Ohm and Holy combo on the field, and once that happens, it's really, really hard to come back from it. We choose to counter out here. 2k and a 1k. Knowing full well that we're going to take the next, the leader swing. So our opponent swings 5k, and that's okay. We play out the Jin. First we'll swing into the Holy, hoping that they'll give us that. Of course they won't because they're attached to it. There's an argument to actually just swing so big into the Holy that it was just going to disappear, but we wouldn't have had a character to play out and we would have eventually lost the game. Thinking of using Alvida there to be able to have more Dawn available to swing into Holy, but it works out pretty well that we have 8 with this 2 cost that we're running in this deck that allows us to attach Arrested onto leader, which slowly gains a lot of value in this matchup and gives you free leader ability if it happens that you're not able to attach with an Alvida or a Chainsaw Hand. Our opponent swings 5 into 5. Will we give them a counter for it? I mean, they're going to get it if they swing leader anyway, so there's no real point. We just let it go. And it just kind of acted as a blocker for us. If anything, we counter out 1 of the 5k because we're going to take a big swing here. And now we're happy to see we drew into that Koro because we're going to be able to either freeze their Secret Rare Enel or their blocker, and we're going to choose their blocker. We pick another Kuro because we want to change these. It's a pretty strong way of winning this matchup. We trash this Searcher so that we can get a free Dawn attached and use Kuro. We didn't really need to, but I mean, it was there, so we might as well use it. Rest their blocker, and now that blocker is going to be rested until the next turn, so our opponent doesn't have access to that. We swing 6 into 5, our opponent gives us 2k, and swing 7 and another 7. So see what our opponent does with their counter. They Mamaragan and 2k. Okay, and we freeze their counter card. So our opponent, if they want, like, of course they can do some crazy stuff with Enel, like maybe Divine Departure. Yeah, so they get the anti-removal off. They can probably Divine Departure and then L-Tor, something like that. But they don't. They just Divine Departure and go for board, which is fair enough because they can freeze one of our bodies. But our leader, the ability from Alvida is still online, which is huge. So we are going to use such. We can't attach Damakoro, but the Dawn's already attached, so we're not going to be able to swing to freeze their blocker next turn, but we can freeze one there now. So 1 is enough for us, to be honest. We're not going to be picky at all. Pass the turn to our opponent, they take 1 life and play out another blocker, which is sad to see. And or they decide on how they're going to swing. We give them a free block here. Okay, no, a 2k because we need the bodies on board to be able to swing next turn if we want to get any bit of aggression off. And our opponent is considering what to do here. Maybe they got some crazy stuff that they can use. They don't, they just trash a card so that they get the blocker online. We get the Krieg, and the Krieg is useful here because it allows us to freeze a body, but also we're kind of thinking, well, we do really need to survive as well. And us keeping 2 blockers up, it'll allow us to survive but not to do very well, and having the other blocker up, the Chainsaw Hand, will allow us to swing 7k with leader for free, essentially. So that's sort of what we're leaning towards. That's why we swing 7, or that's why we swing 7 with the Kuro. And now we're just thinking, how can they crack back now? And we choose to swing 7 here. Because this reason here, and this is what we'll talk about at the end. So I made an error here and I messed up the math, but we would have won. And that sounds like the most cool sentence you've ever heard in your life, but it is true, as you can see from the hand state at the end. So what happened is they only had 1k counter in hand, and we thought with the Alvida ability that we'd be able to attach Rested On onto a leader at the end without thinking that they only had attached on, so we couldn't attach the Rested On at the end. So rather than the correct sequence, which would have been 6 into the 7-7 and then 9 to finish the game, we went 7-7, 6 and 9, and by the time they had taken life, they had drawn into that 2k counter. So just a sequence error here, we would have actually won that game, which is extremely rare to go against Enel. As I mentioned, there's a few tech cards that I'm working on that I think can help the matchup a lot, but just with this deck list, which is I think a very, very good deck list, it still is very difficult. What I want to mention with this game is just to keep in mind with these Alvida abilities and the Airlong and the Chainsaw hands that you can't actually attach on to your leader. Of course, you know that already because you've been watching the video, but I forgot it. I was just Krieged out to the max. It's just something really important to note when you're doing your maths at the end to go for game. Something just quickly to mention that I want to talk about against the Enel matchup is using Luna and aggressively resting. If you have Lunas in your hand, Krieg is one of the best Luna users in the game, especially against Enel, because you can rest their Enels quite easily and then Luna a lot. You can also use Baby Luna in this deck as well, which we're not using at the moment because we're going for a searchable East Blue build, but this is how you'd win the Purple Enel matchup. There's also an East Blue Navy card that allows you to pop a character with more attached on than their cost, which is very, very useful for Enel because they always have 4 attached on and a lot of their weenies are below 4. We'll talk about that more in future videos because I'm going to make a deck list for specifically Enel. So yeah, sorry about all this yap. I just really do want to talk about this Purple Enel matchup because you guys, if you love Krieg, you're going to be playing a lot of Purple Enel and the matchup is really, really difficult, 100%. So if you want to tech into it, those are some options for you. Also just to mention that Luna and Baby Luna, the Supernova event, they're just really, really good in this deck, and you'll see a lot of the more popular builds with them. You see I am running Luna, of course, but I don't run the Baby Luna. I could maybe increase the ratios of these, but sometimes it doesn't come off all that much. Even into like ace matchups, it's useful. So really I think increasing Lunas or using more Baby Lunas is a good thing for this deck, especially against Purple Enel. You're getting more deck analysis at the end of this video, but I really want to talk about this Purple Enel matchup a lot. Freezing their Ohm is useful as well, but I mean, they're probably going to get off an Ohm and Holly if they see it on curve at least once, unless you're able to get a Pearl out early, and there aren't that many Pearls in this deck anymore. You can also run the East Blue Navy blocker Helmeppo, who rests a cost of 5, so you can block out of 1 Ohm and then rest the Holy or vice versa, which is really useful tech to keep in mind. Alright, that's the Purple Enel analysis that I'm thinking of. I'll make a future video later on just specifically for this matchup, but if you're a Krieg lover, then I hope you get some knowledge out of this little bit, because I did play a bunch of Purple Enel matches and they're all hard, and I wasn't running a deck that was specifically teched for Enel, so I think maybe that was part of the problem. I was just running deck lists that I think are meta relevant decks, like the 3 that you've seen pretty much. I hope you're getting something out of this. I'm going to stop talking now. We're going to run into the next game. So our last game of the episode is an absolute banger. I recorded all these games realizing that I wasn't able to get a Red Blue Ace game for you guys because it was difficult, to be honest. Same with the Purple Enel game. It's a very difficult matchup, as is this. But you can see from this game that there is possibilities, especially when you draw well like we have now. We chose to keep our hand and we got a Luna. If we didn't choose to keep our hand, then we are very thankful that we got a Luna this turn. play out the air long on our 4-don turn and attach a rested onto our leader to be able to not so much use leader ability, but just to swing into their ace on curve. They counter out, which is fair enough. And we search now. We search for the Jin, which is great for us. And we use the Alvida, so now we have a very, very strong curve of being able to flood the board. Our opponent swings 7, we take, and we attach 2 rested Don to our leader and swing 7 into 6. It's not really great swinging 7s into A's because they can still use their leader ability for free, but it's what we had, so it's what we swung. And now we are going to go for our nice little combo here of Jin into Chainsaw Hand. Our opponent plays out a Jozu and we're able to use the Koby effect to counter. Our opponent had the opportunity to swing 4k into 3 there, but doesn't. Thankfully enough, we would have had to have taken. If they did, they just didn't realize what the Koby did, which is fine for us, not great for them. We are able to attach a lot of rested Don to the Jozu and rest it and eventually freeze it. We make a misplay here where we use the freeze event, forgetting that there's a Kura on board. We were really Krieged out at this point, so small errors were made. It is a shame to lose that card as well, because not only is it a very useful freeze option, it is also 4k counter for us. We attach a rested Don to Erlong and swing 6, 6 and 6, which is a very strong combination against Ace because we're asking for leader ability, which is always 2k and 1k is in hand, and Aces 1ks are actually quite useful for them. We get swung at 7, we block and counter, and now we are going to search and see what we can get. There is the temptation to use Kuro because we'll be able to freeze the white gate for next turn, and that's exactly what we do. There was also an argument to set down our blocker to be able to have that rested Don engine on board even more so, but I think what's more important here is just being able to freeze this big body to protect ourselves a little bit more. But we also have the Lunas on board as well, so once they start swinging with the Jozu and the Yamatos, we'll be able to freeze those, so we have that in mind as well. And we have 2 blockers on board now on tempo because we've been able to rest them for so far. They put down the 10 cost new gate blocker, which we'll be able to rest eventually, and we won't be able to keep it down with the Luna effect, but resting it and being able to swing into their body is very useful for us. We pull into the Krieg, which is actually very good, and we're going to consider using that. Although we won't be able to bring out the Luna, we will be able to minus a lot of power on their field. So that is most likely what we'll do. We also have this freeze event in hand, or sorry, that's a search event. It's kind of far away from me, I didn't see that exactly. We get rid of our anti-removal because everything else on board has a very strong purpose in the deck at the moment. We start attaching a bunch of Don to this new gate. So what you see here now is -6 gate onto that new gate, and we can rest it with our leader ability, so we just start swinging 6s into it. Because it's just the smartest way about it. No, forget about that. It would have been handy to whittle down their hand size by swinging 6s into it, but we choose instead to just go full on into it, and now we choose to whittle down the hand size by attacking into their Jozus, which is strong for us. We keep up our 2 blockers, we can't swing with Erlong, 5 into 6 doesn't math, and we pass turn. Our hand is totally bricked up, but we have blockers on board, so we're not altogether too afraid of it. We are going to block out of this one, and we're hoping that our opponent uses the Yamato. They don't. They instead use a Zoro. Our Alvida ability, if we had a character in hand, would have been very useful there, but we don't. If we had taken the first life, we would have, but also we were afraid of using the Goldie Roger. If they had used the Goldie Roger, they would have won hands down. So we don't want to invite that onto ourselves at all. Now we are attaching rested Don and seeing what happens here. We choose to search. What can we pull? And this Morgan here is the absolute perfect card we can pull at this moment, because we need enough rested on to attach to be able to use the Luna effectively to freeze 2 of their characters, and we also want 2 blockers on board as opposed to 1. If our opponent has Goldie Roger, well then they have a Goldie Roger. There's nothing we can do about that, but for the moment it seems like we're okay. We pass the turn, we cross our fingers. That's all that happens here, and we lose. Okay. Sometimes there's not much you can do against certain things, and a Goldie Roger in that instance was one of those things. We had set up our board to win the next turn if our opponent didn't have a Goldie Roger, because they had no blockers. We had frozen 2 of their attackers. If they played a blocker, we could have just rested up with leader ability and we would have been okay. They could have used some things, but I mean, we would have had very strong swings into them. Maybe in some world they would have been fine, but we were hoping on that not being the case, because our board state was so strong and we had the ability to rest blockers. So our opponent pulling into Goldie Roger was lucky for them, and it made us first for a W against Red Blue Ace. So you're gonna watch our actual final game. I was joking before. You're gonna watch our final game against an ace again. Our official last game of the episode of our magnum opus Krieg video. I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you just chose and picked what videos to watch and what matchups to watch, more power to you. This is a great ace game, and we'll see why in a second. Our opponent chooses to go first, doesn't have anything to play on their first turn. We play down our anti-removal and we play a search event to search what I believe an Erlang, and pass turn. We have the Buggy in hand, which is just such a cool card in this deck. We pull into another Erlang, so we use it. We can't attach any Don because all the Don is attached to our leader, and pass turn. 6 and 5 doesn't math, as you know. Our opponent uses a Yamato, draws and attaches a Don to their leader, very strong, and passes the turn to us. We play a Jin, and now we can actually use the attached Don abilities. Argument to use 6 into 6 here, or to attach both Dons to a character and leader. But when you think about it, having the Erlang on board for that engine of rested on for the early game is really useful, so we don't want to give that up just yet. Of course, the on-KO ability of Erlang, sometimes you kind of do want opponents to swing into it, but not so much this turn. Our opponent plays an Otama and discards a Jozu, and with the Jozu tries to bounce something. We don't take that, we use our anti-removal and give ourselves minus 3k, and our opponent recognizes this, swings 4 into 3, we give him 2k counter, swing 6 into 4, they can have that, and our opponent passes turn. We just pulled into the Electric Luna there, so we're just thinking on how this works. Can we use Buggy or not, because we really do want to, but maybe this turn isn't the best turn for it. We have a lot of freeze options in hand, so we consider swing 6 into Yamato, and we're probably just going to swing a lot into Yamato for the time being, because it is just smart. Our opponent doesn't have a rested Don either, so they're not going to get draw off us getting this Yamato off the board, which is a very big deal for us. We would love to see the opponent use the event or their ability to get rid of it, but they don't, and we swing to protect it, and they don't, so we swing 8 into 6 now, and our opponent, or rather they did use the ability, and our opponent has to give us a 2 and a 1k because they don't want to take a double attack, and we've Lunaed their board. They have character rush, but none of our characters are big enough to take that, to be able to be swung into, so they just take the 2k lead, which is still massive, and we pull into another Electric Luna, and now you're going to see why Krieg is probably the best Electric Luna player in the meta at the moment, because we can freeze, or we can rest pretty much every card we want. We search with the Django here first off, and trash it to attach rested Don, which is just the smart thing to do here. We Luna their whole board, and we attach more Dons so we can get free Don on our leader, and now we are going to start swinging 8s, just little pokes. Our opponent only has 4 cards in hand, so they're incentivized to take this, and they do. Swing another 8, see what they're thinking about here, and we swing another 8, and right here we have 0 life, but we have 2 Don up for our event, and we don't choose to swing, of course, because we want to block out. Our opponent considers what to do here, and there's only really one option for them, and that is to go all in. Our opponent hits us with the GGs, but it's a bit too early for that, buddy, because we have 2 4Ks and enough counter to counter out of this, and now it's math to see who can who has enough counter to survive. We're just going to swing a bunch of 8s because it's a really good number against ace, and that's what you're going to see. We're going to swing 8, we're going to swing 8, you have to give us a leader ability and a 1k, see what they have. They give us a 2k, so we know we're doing something right. And now we're thinking on whether we'll go more 8s or not. They don't have leader ability, so now we're going to want to swing our 9k swings, and our opponent concedes. They don't have counter in hand. Their hand is totally bricked up. They only have 2k available. They had the Goldie Roger, but the way I did the math beforehand, we would have had enough counter to got out of the Goldie Roger swing and also the leader swing, so there was actually nothing they could have done that turn. They hit us with the early GG, but they regretted it soon after because we were able to counter out of their 16k swing. Very, very good game. I'm very glad we ran a second Red Blue Ace game on this, and to finish off this episode with an absolute banger of a game that really came down to the last bit of counter that we had in our hand. Very good game to our opponent, and let's now talk about our deck lists. So here we are looking at the first list, which is the most traditional list that I'd say we ran in this. Obviously we have our unique TCG tech of the Shanks and the Strive to Surpass Me event, which this card is, in my opinion, a must in the deck. I think it's a very useful counter to have. It's 4k to leader our character, and it activates the Shanks in a very strong way. Also, we don't swing with all our leaders constantly, because sometimes we want to keep the engine alive with the attaching rested and active Dons. So this oftentimes does come up, and we've won games because of it, absolutely. You could run more Electric Lunas, to be fair, but running more of these probably is smarter because it's 1 cost and frees an 8 cost or less. Very, very useful in this deck, and it's unique to Krieg, so I think it's just a good card to use. We're using a 1 non-East Blue in this deck, the Goldie Roger, and you've seen it nearly came up once in this deck, or in these gameplays. And I think it's a very smart card to use because you can't freeze everything or you can't rest everything with Krieg. And if there is a situation where there's just too many cards on the field to be able to rest, then a Goldie Roger is useful, and it's just one of, so it's not like it's going to totally break up your hand. Only one of Krieg, which in my opinion is too little, because Krieg is a very useful card. We can search it, and we have a lot of searchers to do so, but still running one of is a little too small. We run 4 hour-longs, which is an absolute must. I think attaching the active Don is much more useful, and having a strong 4 Don curve is helpful as well. We're running 4 pearls in this build because we want to stop the Ohms and we want to stop the Cavendish. It is a useful card, but it means sometimes when you're coming up against Enel, they can minus cost to this and Mamaragan it, which just negates it totally, which is sort of frustrating. But it is a useful card. Maybe not 4 of, 2 of is more beneficial. Only 3 Alvidas and 3 Morgans. I mean, you're always going to get these cards and you can search for them. So having them as 3 ofs allows space for other cards in the deck that we like to run. There is an argument to use 4 of. Cutting down 2 pearls to have 4 of these would probably be a good idea. All in all, this is a very standard list. Koro to freeze, we're only running 3 of because we can search it twice. But having 4 of, I've oftentimes had 3 cores in hand, and it's just a bit excessive, to be honest. Because if you don't have these Alvidas or the Morgans up, only attaching 2 Don with Koro does nothing. So it is dependent on other cards in your board, so you want to have more space in the deck for these other cards. I really like this list. Electric Luna is a must in this meta anyway, but for Krieg it's a very good card. You can use Baby Lunas if you want instead, which will give you 3k counter. But Luna is very strong, and the trigger effect does actually come up, and I have used it to some effect. Let's now talk about our second list. This list here cuts down on the pearls, so we are only running 2 of the pearls, and we cut down on our Shanks as well. We're only running 1 of. We keep the same amount of the events in hand. We're still using this Zoro, we're still using the amount of Lunas, everything else stays the same. What we're including in this deck, we've cut the Roger, we've added another Krieg, so we have 2 Kriegs now, which is much better, and we have 3 Zoros. We run the 3 Zoros because it's not searchable, and we do want to draw it in most of our games. You've seen it came up and actually helped us win a game against Lucy in these gameplay videos, so it is useful. And I mean, if you're a 7k leader, then your leader ability doesn't need to come off, because you're essentially, rather than using minus 2k, you're plus 2k. And if anything, plus 2k is more beneficial because you're plus 2k against the opponent leader. So it is a useful card, and I am definitely in favour of using non-East Blue cards in a Krieg build.
because I think in the late game the minus 2k power isn't the absolute win condition of this deck. I think the win condition in late game is being able to rest your opponent's characters with 2 given Don, so that you can go for aggressive swings, and having a 9k body on board that is like a defensive card as well, because you become 7k as your leader and you can also swing into your opponent's board, is very useful for finishing off games and for building that big scary board. We run trios, so we can actually we can use them in consecutively as well, if that does come up, which it didn't in these games, to be honest. So maybe cutting these down if you wanted to use the Zoro would be beneficial as well, because you only really need 1. So maybe putting these down to 2 of and running another Shanks or running another Krieg would be beneficial. For this list particularly, if you do want to run a Zoro, I like running the Zoro, to be honest, I really do. But we've seen from the third list and the first that we're not running it, and those games were, in my opinion, sort of more successful. We'll talk about the third list, which is my favorite list and I think the most unique list that I crafted for these videos. So let's look at that now. But just to rate the Zoro, I think it's a solid pick for this deck. I think 1 of could be useful, 2 of is good, 3 of was a bit excessive. There were times that I pulled into 2 Zoros, and this deck doesn't have discard at all, so you can't get rid of it once it's in your hand. So it is a brick, sort of, because we have very strong 7 on turn in the Kuro anyway, and so we don't always want to play this run or Zoro. Sometimes it's better to play the Kuro on curve and free something that they have and set down a 7k blocker. That's my thoughts on this list. I think this list goes better into bigger opponents, because you can come a 7k swing and rush down their bodies, so your board control is more strong. So let's talk about this third list now and what that does. That is impressive. So our third and final list does change it up quite a bit. We completely cut the Zoro out and we're running a total East Blue package. We've cut down on 1 of the Zoro events, but everything else is the same. 4 searchers, 3 4k counters and freezes, 2 Lunas. We've added 1 more Shanks because it is a really good card and we want to see it. We've kept 2 Krieg, which I rate, and we've included 2 Nezumis for cutting out 2 Pearls. Nezumi is actually really great. Famously enough, for these Krieg games, if you're going first, your second on turn is usually quite boring, that you don't have anything to play. If you have this in hand, it's handy to play it down. If you're coming up against Enel, or sometimes even against Lucy, to get rid of a Rebecca early. But other than that, we don't have 3 down plays, so it's either you play a searcher or however many searchers you have in swing, which isn't weak, but this is much stronger. Being able to play this out on board on a 3 down turn, you then can swing 7k, and every single turn you are guaranteed to have your leader ability active if you have this on board. So it is very strong in this deck, I believe anyway. There's not so much removal in this meta. Of course, Viper can take this out quite easily in like a yellow Sky Island Luffy build, but you can't tech against everything, and it's not every single match you're going to be playing against that one particular deck. We have space in this deck for 1 more of our 5 boys and girls, our bodies, and we choose the Alvida because we rate the Alvida being able to protect itself on board more than we rate the Morgan, because removal is prevalent enough against Lucy, and we just like to have the anti-removal in there. And also what you have to consider with this Alvida is it's not just removal from effects, it's just from KO. So if it gets fire fisted and then punched into a bunch, you can trash cards in your hand to protect it enough. So that is very, very strong, and pretty much everybody in this deck, besides was that 6 or 8, is a underneath 6,000 power, so you can protect it quite effectively. Of course, the events don't count, but we won't talk about those. And the juicy, spicy, great, almighty tech of this deck is the double attack Buggy, which came up twice in these games, twice, 3 times in these games. It's extremely strong and surprisingly so, and the opponent does not expect it at all. With Krieg, if you have enough bodies on board, you can actually swing quite big with your leader ability, or with your leader, because you can attach Restodon to it. So say on like 8 on turn, you have 2 of these out, and if you have an Erlang, okay, we'll be asking for too much, but you have 2 of these out, so that's 7k automatically. You play out the Fordon, and then you have 7k and you can attach Fordon to lead, so you can swing 11k double attack on turn 8, which is actually very strong against a lot of decks. Very aggressive as well, and you can play this off Jin. So say that 8th on turn, if you want to play Jin to establish board and into the Buggy, you can still go 9 Don leader. Say you have these out, which is okay, you probably won't, but you'd have an Erlang out definitely. If you have an Erlang out into a Jin, into a Buggy, that is 6 and yeah, a 6k double attack, which is strong. But basically what I'm saying, there's a lot of different avenues to get the double attack off, and they're not that hard to get. It's very, very strong, and it's super aggressive, and it catches a lot of people off guard. Shanks is great in this deck, and Shanks and this card, the tech between them is very strong, and the trigger effect on this is not to be slept on as well. You can rest an opponent's 7,000 base power or less card, which can, in some instances, negate a lot of aggression. You just have to have a card standing up to do so. Same with Luna, that is a great trigger effect for this deck. All in all, I really enjoy playing Krieg. It has very hard matchups that you do have to tech into, like the Purple Enel, and it's a shame that Purple Enel is so prevalent in the meta. However, it does have very strong matchups into the likes of Crocodile, as you've seen. I think it's a very good matchup into Blue Yellow Nami. Red Blue Ace is a bit more difficult, but not if you find your Lunas. If you find your Lunas, it's actually manageable because you can rest a Whitebeard and aggressively swing into life consistently. And if you have Lunas on board, you can pretty much Luna like every turn. Like if they play, what we saw earlier was they played the Yamato into the Jozu, into the Zoro, which is a very common line for Ace. You're able to every turn rest a character without them even swinging. The Zoro doesn't get character rush because their bodies aren't actually that big, and we're able to lock that down with Luna. We can then use Krieg ability, as we saw earlier, to get rid of huge bodies off the board quite easily and control the board effectively, which I think is good against Ace, and it's rare that a deck can compete against Ace in board control. Having this removal protection is very useful as well. As you can see, we are only running 3 of these because we want more of these 2Ks, so this deck actually has 9 2K counters. We think this is useful as well to give 1 Don from the opponent's cost area to an opponent's characters. Sometimes you just need to free something and you might not have enough options on board. So that is the Krieg video. This is my magnum opus Krieg guide. Hope you guys enjoyed it and enjoyed all watching all these games. I pretty much played every single meta game, meta deck, and if I didn't win, then I learned a lot, and I tried to show you through that learning process. And if I did win, then you know I'm the greatest player of all time, and Krieg is the best deck in format without a doubt. If you guys are Krieg enjoyers and have other tech ideas for me, let me know in the comments. I put a lot of time into this video because I know you guys really like Krieg. On this channel, I started playing Krieg early on, and I have probably the most games with this leader, so I thought I'd put together a sort of defining Krieg video for everyone to watch, because I didn't see much of it on YouTube. Just as a way to thank you guys for following and liking the videos and subscribing and such. It's been a blast so far just putting these together, and so I put a lot of time into this video, and I hope you guys appreciate it and learn a lot. If you like the video, make sure to leave a like. If you don't like it, leave a comment, let me know what I can do better. And if you want to see more videos, leave a comment and tell me what videos, because to be honest, I'll just make a video for you. I think the community here is small enough that we talk to each other, and it's nice that we can just bounce ideas off each other. I talked to a bunch of you guys about Krieg, and that's why there's a Krieg video here. So yeah, comment away and let's talk about OP-TCG. If you want to see more videos, make sure to subscribe and bells and notifications and all that fun. And without talking too much, thanks very much for the support so far, and I hope for the continued support. Bye now.